Welcome. You're tuned into Life is a Sacred Journey. Every week, we bring a new perspective to aging and caregiving. Here is your host, Micheal Pope. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you out in the virtual neighborhood of Life is a Sacred Journey. It is my honor and privilege to be with you this morning, Friday morning, 8 a.m. Pacific time. Yay! We made it through the week, we made it through the evening, and now we're going to spend a few minutes together here at Life is a Sacred Journey. I hope my guest will be joining us soon. I'm sure he will be. I'm so looking forward to that conversation with him. But I want to also just tell you, thank you. Those two words together have so much power, but we say them so much maybe, or we hear them enough that we don't really understand that the word thank you is such an abundant, great example of gratitude and love. And so thank you for, hitting the share button, subscribing, telling people about Life is a Sacred Journey, whether you're doing it through TikTok, YouTube, Blog Talk Radio, wherever you're finding Life is a Sacred Journey and sharing it and experiencing it. Just thank you. And I hope that you know how much we appreciate your allowing us to come into your lives every single week. We've been doing this now since the COVID pandemic on a weekly basis and live, this ultimate connection between myself and you and all the guests that come on Life is a Sacred Journey. And we're just so honored, that all of you come back every single week and that you join us for our podcast. So welcome all of you out there in my virtual neighborhood, my global hood. I love you all so much. It's so great that you come back every single week. And I send you virtual love to all my family in India. I have a lot of family in India, folks that I love and that I have shared my spiritual journey with throughout my sacred journey. I just am praying for you and your families and everyone around you. I am worried for you, but I am praying for you because I know there's a higher power that will keep you well and get you through this. So I got my little display mask here, Jevon, here. Wear your mask, my family, my friends. Wash your hands, my family, my friends. Get the vaccine whenever you can, if you want to, because I don't know how you feel about vaccines, okay? Because I do know about medical apartheid, so don't get it twisted. But what I'm trying to tell you is the vaccine will help us to have this herd effect where we won't be passing this thing back and forth and back and forth, and then giving it an opportunity to get stronger. Because that's what happens in science, loved ones. I love you. But when a disease lasts for a really long time, it just gets stronger. And because it morphs. That's science. Just like we've morphed, right? From who we were when we were created. Hopefully, I know I have. And I keep morphing every day. So take care of yourselves out there and stop acting like this pandemic is gone, because it's not. And you having the vaccine does not prevent you from passing COVID to someone else, okay? Let's know the truth. And Jevon, I'm so happy to see your face this morning. It's so good
to see your face as well.
Wow, I'm gonna bring up your bio here for me to look at for a minute, because I want people to know all about you. I have learned about you through one of my sheroes, which is, everybody knows, is my daughter. Jay Davis is one of my sheroes. I mean, when you give birth to one of your sheroes, that's pretty amazing. And it doesn't mean we didn't have the typical mother-daughter relationship, because we sure did. But at the end of the day, she brought me that Z wisdom, that XYZ wisdom that I cannot have because I'm a baby boomer. So, it's so cool to be around younger people, as Ashton Applewhite, who is an expert on ageism, Jevon, was on last week, and she was talking about these words that we use to separate ourselves, like the fact that I call myself a baby boomer. I'm just Micheal Pope. And I just happen to be of a certain age, and all of us together should come together as a humanity to change this world. It can't be just
one age or one color or one sexual preference or one. We all have to come together in order to make this world a better place. So I am happy to have you here, and I'm going to tell them a little bit about you, and then we're going to get started. Jevon Wilkes is the Executive Director with the California Coalition for Youth and the Director of Youth Engagement with California Children's Trust. For nearly 15 years, Jevon has dedicated his career to the nonprofit sector. You know, that's my yay, nonprofits, focusing on disconnect, runaway, and homeless youth. Jevon's passion for serving youth comes from his lived experience with homelessness, the foster care system, and being a disconnected youth himself. Positive adult role models and mentors were crucial to Jevon's many successes and accomplishments that opened the door to his role as Executive Director with the California Coalition, CCY, in 2018. Before joining CCY at the age 16, listen to this, young folks, Jevon used his voice and homeless experience to advocate for youth and secure much needed funding, programs, and supports at the state level. Today, Jevon serves as an appointed member of the California Child Welfare Council, California Department of Health Care Services Behavioral Health Stakeholder Advisory Committee, and Proposition 64 Advisory Group. His appointments stem from his passion for addressing the needs of youth experiencing homelessness and youth service providers aligned with making youth homelessness rare and eradicating it. That's my new word. We're not going to dismantle anymore. We're going to eradicate, make it short-lived and never reoccurring or never happening in a child's life. Jevon feels a call to utilize his education, his talents, his passion, and his lived experience to serve as an example of what is possible for youth when they receive support and leadership opportunities. And I am so excited to have you here. I heard about you through, again, my extraordinary daughter, Jay Davis, and I also heard about you through one of my dear, dear friends, Cassie, who is a dear friend. This is what I always tell people, Jevon, the circle of good always comes together at some point. There is an intersection. Even though circles do this, there's an intersection in the circle. When you do good and the common good is what you're focusing on, there is no way that your path will not cross with like individuals. So thank you for getting up early or just starting your day with me. And I want to ask you a couple of questions. And first, I hear your story, I hear your bio, and I want to talk a little bit about what in that moment within your bio where you decided, you know what, I'm going to take this experience as raw as it is and whatever it's doing to me inside, and I'm going to take what I'm learning from this to help somebody else. You know, because sometimes when we're oppressed, sometimes when we're dark, because I know I've been there, it's hard to see out and see the future of, you know, helping other folks. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's inspiring. And when we don't tell our own story, the Sankofa of our lives, then we aren't impacting, because we do have to share, don't we?
Oh yes, we do have to share. And, you know, that's such a great question when I think about it and reflect on my life. The honest truth of why I'm where I am is first because of my faith. God has brought me here. It was nothing but divine intervention when it came to the age of 16 and, you know, have gone through trauma in my life, have gone through ups and downs, have been the villain in somebody else's story and the angel in somebody else's story, and having all of that compounded on your shoulders at the age of 16, you know, I felt like at that point in my life, because of everything that happened, that I was going to die early. And I saw promise in the next generation. And I saw that through my volunteerism. Now, I've gotten national awards for volunteering when I was younger and all over the place, but truly it sparked from all of the brokenness that I had to endure as a young person. And then, I started volunteering in middle school. And of course, that was a court order. It really wasn't a court order. It was, again, divine intervention, where I was put in a position to support my community in a way that brings it to its visual greatness, meaning, cleaning up the trash and things like that. But then it went deeper when I started being able to speak on stage and performances, part of my volunteerism. And then I was able to mentor younger kids. And then I was able to go and do camps, Young Life, and allow young people to kind of explore faith, explore different cultures, explore themselves. And, I saw some promise in there and said, boy, you are a young man, and, the Lord loves you. And here's the thing, you got a mission. You are part of will. And, yes, you got freedom of choice, but your calling is to serve. And so that's what I did. I was at that age, I came up with this statement of, I'm just an instrument of change to serve. I'm an instrument to serve. And so, at that point, I was so young and didn't really know what I was taking on. At the age of 16, I'm in a group home, painting walls, being a light in other young people's eyes. And again, being a villain too, because, everybody's had their days, where they just like, no, I'm not doing this today. This is exactly what I'm going to do. And it comes from a sense of ignorance. But hopefully we built that part of us that is willing and thriving to grow into all that is good, which comes from deep down our soul, because everybody got it. Sometimes we just kind of shut it off and get the distractions going. At 16, I was, as this has been sparked because, one, Yoshiro is amazing. Jade is amazing. And when you're able to be around people like that who bring such a sense of passion, grace, and just love, right? You're able to see how that circle comes back around. And when I was, 16 doing this work, I went to the Youth Empowerment Summit. Well, it was at that time, 2005, 2004. I went to a Take an Action conference and saw other young people getting engaged and saw adults actually wanting youth voice at the table. And I was like, okay, this is new to me. And peace. I want a little bit of that if I'm going to make the greatest impact. Again, I thought my life was going to end early. So I said, let's use what you have, your talents, your gifts. Let's use it for some good.
Yes.
And I went and started doing advocacy work, joined the youth advisory board, then joined the board of directors and was in that position for a while. And then got the call, would you want to be executive director? And, applied and did all of that stuff. And it just turned into this opportunity where I stand now to serve on different tables with people of power, with people of influence, and just share and ground them in the reality of what young people are facing now and the many missed opportunities that unfortunately we've had to endure as a community together. And in order for us to have the brightest of futures, we have to allow the children to thrive. We have to allow the young people to thrive, and they have to be at the table because to some degree they are more intelligent and are able to bring in the world without being of the world. And so as we are able to kind of support their social and emotional development, that's what brings me to the greatest hope, is the fact that they're growing up and they're able to see this, dissect it. And granted, it has been a challenging time to endure when it comes to this pandemic and COVID for our young people and their minds and their spirit and their hearts. And considering that we are losing so many young people to suicide ideation, to fentanyl, and to all of the other things that just destroy and take these talents and these gifts and these amazing individuals out of the collective progress that we are all wanting for our lives and for our communities. And so, you know, I really see a light in them, and I've seen, you know, all kind of things. You know, that's how I met my wife, is through, you know, Young Life, working with young people and really, you know, inviting them to explore all that is good. And so seeing them kind of step in that, you know, is beautiful. I mean, my little sister from time to time be teaching me stuff, and I'll be like, okay, Jevon, you don't know nothing.
But you have to be willing to engage, and you have to be willing to put your, you know, when I work with young people, I always say to them, okay, take off your cool vest, because, you know, I'm not trying to deal with your cool. I'm trying to deal with your heart. And it takes a minute. But once they realize that I'm being real with them, I don't need them to bring their bravado, because I can bring mine too. I got it. It's old school, but I got it. But to level the playing field, what you just said is so good, so profound to me, is about this whole idea of where love lives. This is a theme that the United Methodist Church has taken on through this time of pandemic, and then of course because of things that are happening around the LGBTQI issue and all of that. But where does love live? And I always tease my children that they have been my science project of, what if you love somebody till they tell you you're loving me too much? What happens to that individual? They become independent, strong. They can leave the nest and fly away and come back every season to hang out with you. Mm-hmm. But they're strong on their own. They're not broken. My analogy as a parent, my analogy as an older person in the world is, let's stop sending out into the world broken winged birds. Broken winged birds die unless there's an intervention. Because a part of their journey is to fly. So think of the human spirit in that way. If we cannot fly, that's why prison doesn't work, people. I'm calling it out because you know how the popo works. It doesn't work because if you break my spirit, then there's nothing to restore. Get it? And that's why the millions and billions of dollars that we have spent to incarcerate people without real therapies, without healing the broken wings, then we just bring those same old broken people back out in the world and expect them to live with us in harmony, and they will not. They cannot. A person, I met a person once, Jevon, a young person, a young man, when I was in the youth field back in New York. And dude was come in my office like this. His hands would always be clenched. And I asked him why. He said, because I'm squeezing my hands to hurt myself so that I know that I'm alive. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You cause hurt to yourself. That's what cutting, that's what all of this behavior is about, is that I'm trying to know that I still feel, that I'm still alive, because nobody has noticed me, nobody cares about me, and when they look at me with disgust and disdain. So your story just says that to me, that I was 100% right. It was an experiment. Sorry, Milton and Jay. I love you dearly. But when I first looked at them, I thought, let's get this right. It doesn't mean I was perfect. Oh, heck to the no. They will tell you I was not perfect. Okay, I had to say I was sorry a lot. But that's the key, grown-ups. You got to tell the young people you're sorry. You got to stop acting like you're tromping around in their garden and you don't know you're tromping around in their garden. and you got to say you're sorry. Some of my behavior was because of my old tapes, Jevon, that I brought into the relationship of parenting. I can't act like I'm all holed up, right? And so talk a little bit about, because I've been reading all this on your website, I want to hear about like the California Youth Crisis Line. I'm gonna go into some other stuff too, but in there was some factual data about what this emptiness in our young people. I also want you to tell me, when you say youth, what age group are you talking about, so people understand, because I do it, young people, youth, young adults, we don't know what we're talking about, so help us there. But tell us about the California Youth Crisis Line and the importance of it, why it even exists, and the importance of it.
So one, the California Coalition for Youth, which is the mother agency, has housed and operated the California Youth Crisis Line for about 34 years. And the reason why we inherited this crisis line to push the work forward, to make sure that young people, it started off as a switchboard, and then it transformed into what we got now, which is call, chat, and text, and 24 hours, 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year, and 366 when it's a leap year. So when it comes to our young people, we knew that we had to find an immediate way to make sure that they were okay, that they had a protective factor. As you know, there's a lot of discussion around, adverse childhood trauma and experiences. The crisis line is a protective factor. And so when young people will run away and they could call our line and say, hey, if my parents call, this is where I'm at, or, vice versa for a parent looking for their child, and they were able to call. And then we expanded that to really support all youth. And what I mean by youth is I'll differentiate that. So youth is 12 to the age of 24. Right?
Okay.
And then there's another way in which youth are put together, and that's when it comes to TAY, which is transition age youth, which is from the age of 18 to 24, 25. Okay. And when we say young adults, I truly think that, and how I feel about it, now granted, there may be some data that changes it up, but it's really those who are under the age of 30, right? Okay. Because when it comes to the brain development of our young people, they got till about 28 until it reaches its mature position. And when you compound trauma and all of those things on there, it impacts the brain. So, granted, more data science needs to be done around the brain development, right? At the age of 28, for instance, I didn't have it all together, right? I'm still, sleeping in a little room, renting out a room, not fully independent, but working towards that. And granted, my life led me to, sleeping in garages, sleeping in, a tiny room, finding a place to stay that's going to accommodate where I am, meaning financially, mentally, physically, spiritually. And what the crisis line does is it provides a individual, and majority of our crisis counselors are youth themselves. People themselves. Okay. Yeah, so we have that opportunity because we work with a lot of college students. We do work with high school students, and we do work with community members. And now with this pandemic and us having to go to a virtual platform and a virtual call center, now we are able to not only, because we are Sacramento grassroots, right? We are in Sacramento as our office. And what that means is, we don't have, we don't just say, hey, if you in LA, come on up here and then you can, volunteer with us. Because of the virtual space that we're now able to tap into, we have young people who are all over the place. We have community people who are all over the place. And my hope there is that we're able to, like, intentionally, but also unintentionally create mental health ambassadors throughout the state. And so when they are able to take on a volunteer opportunity that is rich in information, meaning there's 40 hours plus of training that goes into being a volunteer crisis counselor with us, because we want to make sure that each individual that are taking on supporting a young person, supporting an adult that's supporting a young person, supporting community members that are looking to seek support and support young people. And if an older individual calls us and is in need of support, we will give them that time. Of course, we want to make sure that it's the young people. We want to advertise and make sure that the young people know that we exist so they can reap all the benefits that we have to offer, which is listening, affirming their strength, making sure that they know that they can call us, not just listen to them when they're suffering, when they're enduring crisis, but to call us even to celebrate an achievement or our goal. And so we just want to be there to support the young person, because we know that services are scarce. Schools are literally in position to be first responders, but they have to be equipped. They have to have the information, the knowledge, and the likeness, right, with the population in which they serve and the population in which is in most need when it comes to everything that is happening. So the crisis line is there to not just build up youth, not just affirm their strength, but also the crisis counselors, give them a rich experience so that, one, they don't just go into the field without any experience, right? Because we have folks, for instance, they'll go off to college and they're like, oh, I love this work, but they haven't taken that internship. They haven't had that real life experience of working with a young person who is working through trauma and battling to stop the habitual nature of feeling as if they're alive by saying, yo, this harmful behavior, I'm going to continue because it shows me that I'm alive, versus the other side, which is a compilation of just uncertainty. And we know that uncertainty doesn't necessarily present life if the hope, if the drive, if the love is not there. So the crisis line does so many things. I mean, we have stories where, you know, had it not been for the crisis line being available to a young person, that young person may not have dived into the goodness and the greatness of themselves and the greatness of opportunities that present themselves. And so young people have gotten housing, young people have rekindled relationships, young people have been able to, you know, stay within their housing, you know, because there's been a de-escalation of family conflict, because our high call volume topics are, you know, family conflict, both nonviolent and violent. And then there's a lot about anxiety and the mental impacts that COVID and the world is having on our young people in regards to how we are moving about. And, you know, young people are calling us for support with their mental health and wanting services, but we don't just put services onto them. We allow them to be autonomous and have a sense of agency in their own development. Now, granted, you know, I love my young people. I want young people to have what they need, right? And as you say, take off the cool vest, right? We look, been there, done that. Your Jordan's cool, fly, but that don't matter to me. Your heart is what matters to me. Your development is what matters to me, because I'm going to need you more so because of what I've inherited and what I hope that you won't inherit, which is all the things that have been chaotic and all that stuff. I want you to inherit all that is good, or getting very, very close to that. So our crisis line is available to young people to make sure that they have the resources that they need.
How do they access it, Jevon? Give them the phone number, call letters, whatever.
That you covered. So our crisis line number, it's 1-800-843-5200. Now, I said that off the top of my mind, but I want to actually get the actual facts, you know.
Okay, yeah.
Let me just go ahead and
I think that's it.
There really quick.
can always call or text the California Youth Crisis Line 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yep. And then, so that number again is 800-843-5200. And they can also go to our website, which is calyouth.org/CYCL. Again, that's calyouth.org/CYCL. And they're able to chat with us. They're able to text with us. And of course, they're able to call. As soon as you go to our website, which is calyouth.org, or you can tap onto the phone symbol. You can tap onto the text symbol. You can tap onto the chat symbol and immediately be able to access someone. In the chat, you do have to put in some information.
Okay.
It's a way in which young people can access us immediately. They can put it up on their phone and just tap. That's what we hope. And you know, we would love to have an app and all that stuff, but we know where we are right now, and this is the resource that we have made available to the best of our ability.
But you know what? This is good because, again, young people, young folks, my fellow humans, okay? Because I'm so tired of our
counterparts.
Yeah, man, I'm just saying. And I have a heart for our LGBTQ plus young adults.
Yes.
Because I know so many that that their families have put them out, their families out of, and I'm not going to go down that road because that's not the topic. But I read here that you're also working with the LGBTQ plus, because this broke my heart, that homelessness, that context, 120% higher. Is that right? Youth who identify as LGBTQ plus are at higher risk of experiencing homelessness by 120% because of some belief. And again, I'm not judging. Always know this, good people. I am never judging you. It's not about me judging you. I'm just trying to plant some seeds, some mustard seeds, so you could possibly think and maybe look at it from a different eye. Maybe this eye, the holy eye, instead of the eye that we've given, that the world has given us in how we see everything. If some young person from the LGBTQIA plus community is 120% higher risk of becoming homeless, what does that say about our capacity to love?
You know, the bodies that I serve on, I'm sure from elected officials to community members, when, you know, I go to these places, we have a system that don't say, I love you enough. And the unfortunate part is we've been on this earth for centuries and centuries and centuries, and systems have been built and we thrive. Like there's a yearning in each of our souls for love. And in the absence of love, we dive into the things that are only going to break us even further. And so when it comes to our LGBTQ plus brothers and sisters, they are someone's children. And the one thing that I've noticed, you know, when we look at a newborn child, there's always this excitement.
Yes.
There's always this excitement. And that excitement should never cease to exist. It should never cease to exist. It doesn't matter the journey in which your child takes, in which your child is only about loving that child and making sure that they are able to be the best that they can be and develop them into that world in which they can be themselves organically and loved. And so when it comes to the risk factors, right, you got LGBTQ plus young people that are at higher risk, right, because of the lack of love. You got Black and brown, indigenous, and people of color who are at high risk of experiencing homelessness. I believe it's 83%. And when it comes to the education right now, we got COVID where, you know, COVID has disrupted and abrupted, right, the fact that without an education, then you are at higher risk of experiencing homelessness. So we are at a crucial time where we need to advocate and make sure that our young people are all right, and make sure that they have the tools, the housing, the mental health services, the behavioral health services, the substance abuse services, and the mentors, and a community that wants to see them thrive and grow. And, when we hear somebody, oh, you're pregnant, congratulations. That child is the same child.
Right. Jevon, thank you, brother. You hit a home run, because I keep saying to our politicians, why do you think it's the same person that was born 90 years ago that you invested in their education, and now that they're 90, you want to put them away? What are you talking about? It's the same person. If we valued, oh, you just touched me so deeply. If we valued the life from the beginning to the end, then we would have a humanity that can coexist without all this violence and hatred that we have for each other. But we keep fragmenting. You can't chop me up. I am all of my experience from the moment that I began to live in my mother's womb. And that is what you're talking about. Tell us about the Youth Summit. You and I have got to get together, okay? Because I have a dream, and this is true. I've been out of this country, and I see how elders and young people work together to build community in places that we call poverty-stricken. But guess what? They have one thing that we don't have: familia. They say, this is family, this is our village. They work together. The young people take care of the elders take care of the babies, and then you have a humanity. People, come on, it ain't that hard.
Can I share something before
Please share. Yes, tell them about the summit, because I'm ready to preach now.
I got you. So it was amazing to me last night. And everything that I got going on as an executive director and being in this role and being on these other committees, I was watching a small film done by Larkin Street Youth Services in San Francisco, and it's called Paving the Way. And granted, I don't have the young people's names on hand right now, but there was a young man, a Nigerian young man, who brought to the table his experience. And as he was going through his story, he said something that was profound, but it shouldn't be profound. And this is what I mean. He said, back in Nigeria, he could go to the neighbor's house or to a stranger's house, knock on the door, and be provided with food if that was his request. And he said, I couldn't do that here. I couldn't, in my time of need, just go knock on someone's door, some random person's door, and have even my least need of like food, right? Food, all the material things, right? Water, using the restroom. Unfortunately, a lot of young people who are experiencing homelessness have to battle with how do they get water, how do they get food. And so, in his experience of trying to not experience homelessness fully on the street, he couldn't just go knock on a neighbor's door. And there's something that I've been to a camp called the Harold Robinson Foundation in Los Angeles, and it's called Camp Ubuntu. And Ubuntu means I am because we are. Yeah. And it goes from all, when I think about it, and when you think about these places that are, we claim as impoverished as we, deal with our first world problems, it really shows how we need to get back to when you can go to your neighbor and ask for some sugar.
Yes.
Right? I mean, when did that stop? We're all a part of this journey together. So I just wanted to share that because of how
thank you.
Other countries and that video, which is Paving the Way, was I loved it, especially There's a young man who I worked with who supported our, development of our data and our survey that we took over September, which was really an analysis of where we are when it comes to youth experiencing homelessness and their needs during this pandemic. And of course, more research and things is being done right now. But this young person by the name of advocacy, which he expressed his name means take a chance. And so it's a beautiful story. And so from that, I'll just go right into our youth empowerment.
Please, yeah, because this is
happening. Yeah, which is happening from May 5th to the 6th. This is a summit where we bring young people together, where we bring adults together to really, one, work together with elected officials, with CBO leaders, with young leaders, and with youth that are just interested in joining the fight to improve and empower the lives of California's youth, especially our disconnected, our youth who have run away, and our youth who are experiencing homelessness. So what this summit really is going to provide young people with is an opportunity to learn about advocacy, the different channels in which we advocate to make sure that policies and procedures and laws are to benefit the growth, social development of young people. So they're going to learn about advocacy. They're going to learn about the power of their voice and how to utilize it in a way that is strategic and not bringing forth additional trauma from unworked experience and unreflected experience. Meaning, if a young person, I've done it before where I'm speaking and I'll say something so graphic that it didn't need to be said because of my audience, but I've said, and I punched him in the eye and he started bleeding. I'm giving all these examples. The elected official didn't need all that information. Right? What they needed was as simple as I've had to endure physical abuse, right? And then it could even go, you can make it more of what I call a green light, right? Where it's more safe for the young person so they don't have to endure any questions. But like, for instance, it could just go from physical abuse to I have experienced suffering and trauma.
Yes.
Right. And it could just be, that's it. That is the ceiling conversation, because then sometimes you'll get questions like, well, what kind of suffering? And then you go into the physical abuse. And then they say, what kind of physical abuse? Who did the physical abuse? And you say, well, it was by this person. Now you walk away, a young person will walk away, because I've experienced where I walk away from that meeting like, damn, that actually did happen in my life. And I have not worked through that yet, but I just poured that out to someone who I don't know and who I don't know that is interested in my development. I'm pitching an opportunity for them to support not only my development, but my peers' development. And so supporting young people and not, and learning how they can strategically share their story to really impact policy and do it as a team. We make sure we provide them with the information from the advocacy one-on-one to the empowered you, which are sessions that we're providing so that they can work as a team. You go in as a team, you're able to walk out as a team, and should things erupt and evoke, you're able to lean on your counterparts to be able to get to the next meeting, to be able to get to your next, event, to be able to get on with your life in a way that is going to provide you with the space to heal when you work in with a team. And so we got that going on for youth. We also have mental wellness that we're going to be providing to young people, and that's going to be with our amazing program manager of the crisis line, to be providing some information on how young people can support their mental wellness. And of course, we have legislative visits that we're going to be utilizing CBO leaders and their youth to be able to go to meetings, talk about the things that are impacting youth experiencing homelessness. And on the provider side, we're going to be providing information on the state budget as it pertains to youth homelessness, as it pertains to disconnected youth, and making sure that the adults in the room who have the job, who get paid to, run through budgets and run through policy and work towards the advocacy that is going to change and make that more flexible, so that the work that is going to be available, the resources, the investment are there to support you. So we're going to have, the budget side of things for young people, not for young people, for community leaders, for CBOs. Then we're going to be able to have a conversation about what one community is doing to join forces to bring the necessary resources, which I call binding it together and building together. And so they're able to learn, CBOs are able to learn about how they did it and what resources they brought together. And then it goes into learning about the, as it pertains to data and collecting data, and where a lot of the funding right now comes from and where it goes through, which is the homeless coordinating and finance council, which is under BSCH. I do a lot of acronyms, and unfortunately it sticks with me where I don't know the full.
That's okay.
That's the world we living in when it comes to acronyms, and all of this is coming from my heart and from what I know. There's going to be information on what new data system they're developing to really make and streamline some of the information, so that we know in real time, as best as possible in real time, where we are as it pertains to serving individuals experiencing homelessness, from the adult population to the youth population. And so we got unaccompanied minors that are experiencing homelessness. We got an unaccompanied youth that are experiencing homelessness. And this data system is able to, it's a mechanism to track. And it's going to be a mechanism in which CBOs and nonprofits and other entities are going to be utilizing to input data. And so I want CBOs to be able to ask questions, learn about this system, and also provide for the organization to provide information about technical assistance on how to apply for the funding stream that is coming out. And there's been like 3 over the last few years where, you had, homeless emergency assistance program, you had the housing homeless assistance program, the round 1 and round 2, and then you have Project Room Key, all of those things that come, but really the where the state gives funds to really support youth, to support the adult population that are experiencing homelessness. And so I want to educate folks on that. And then, of course, again, we have our alleged visits, but we want to end it off by celebrating individuals in the communities who are doing great work. And this year, we have 3 young people who are going to be receiving awards. We have, and then I believe we have 2 adults who have been mentors, who have really fought to elevate youth, and they're in different parts of the state. So we're going to be celebrating, and that's going to be an open forum for people to just join and celebrate with us and celebrate these individuals who have been doing a lot of great work. And it's an honor to be in a position to celebrate, people's good work and great to that. So the Youth Empowerment Summit, again, is on the 5th and the 6th. It's not all day. It starts on the 5th from 1 to 5. Okay. And there's workshops in between there. We have an amazing keynote speaker, a youth who's going to be our keynote speaker, who's going to be just giving it, giving his perspective on life, his story, and supporting us in our development. And so excited about that. We're going to have, the national update from an organization called Away Home America, where they're working on big things to really elevate the needs of youth on a national level, because we know that we need all the funding and the investments in our young people, especially our most vulnerable, which are our BIPOC and our LGBTQ plus brothers and sisters, when it comes to them needing the supports. And of course, we need to love them. I don't know how we can implement that in programs and tell people, hey, this needs to come from a heart. This needs to come and initiate love, and relationships are supposed to do that, which young people know relationships are very important, and they only want it more, especially when it's healthy. And so our Youth Empowerment Summit is going to be filled with just opportunities for folks to engage, opportunities for folks to learn, opportunities for folks to apply the knowledge in which they learn. So I'm going to be doing 2 workshops with the young people, which I've done in retreats and things like that. And this information has been developed by young people themselves. So we know that this is an opportunity. And our Youth Empowerment Summit is usually in person, which has a different feel to it. But we're going to do it virtual this year. Last year was like in the beginning of April, and on March 22nd, that's when everything shut down. So we was trying to figure out what we're going to do. And it was just, we put all that energy and work into it. And then the pandemic hit, and we was like, I mean, months of work just.
Yep. Been there, done that. We had an event planned, and it was like, but you pivot, and that's the one thing that I think that you, as an executive director, your life prepared you for this time. You know how to pivot, and I know as the executive director of my nonprofit, or of ASEP, it's not mine, but it belongs to the world, is being able to pivot. And being able to be resilient and not allowing that punch to, it'll take me down on one knee, but you better get out of my way when I get back up.
Hey, right?
Right?
Out the way.
Yeah, I mean, being an executive director of a nonprofit is a very, very rewarding career. One, because you get to use every single one of the skill sets that you came to this planet with, and then you hone them in and season them with interactions and other people. And so, Jevon, you are a colleague and having you on Life is a Sacred Journey this morning has been a tremendous honor for me. I feel you so much, Sawabana. I feel you and I see you. And that's what this is all about. I want you all, is there time for any young people that this may go out to for them to register? And do they have to be California residents? Because a lot of my young folks are from all over the world. So do they have to be California residents? Could some international folks come in and say, this is what we're experiencing in our hoods?
Yeah. They can jump on and because it is to be, granted, if it's global, I know that, when looking and reviewing the news, I know that some places do not want advocacy.
That's right.
We seeing the impact that us rising up and joining forces and joining hand and peacefully protesting, they're not wanting that. And so they're doing, and creating bills to become laws to prevent that from happening. So here in the US, yes, let's go ahead and get that advocacy as it pertains to how they treat people around the world when they advocate. You see people getting hurt, people getting locked up, and where it seemed like they get locked up for elevating their voice, and then they throw away the key, from poets, news broadcasters, and you name it. So I want to preserve as much life as possible and not provide information like our advocacy 101 and say, whoever your elected official is over in X, Y, and Z part of the world, go and let them know that, I don't want to provide them with that information. That has to be taken on delicately with compassion, with heart, and truly figuring out ways in which they can elevate their voice. And one of those ways is, social media, right? And just expression, finding ways to show how you feel about things through poetry, through art, through spoken word, through the music, through if there's a passion that you have within an agency that you're able to work in or doing something, just loving on your family even more and developing, hey, we rise together because we're going to rise together.
Yes.
There's no falling when love is elevated to the point in which it can't be broken down. And of course, something's gonna try.
Yes.
And as Stevie Wonder says, love is in need of love today, and it is more so than ever before. And so, love on our young people, and it starts with loving on ourselves. It starts at home, and so that is just something that I do my best to live in. That pray every day, pray for those who I believe love me, and pray for those who want to prosecute me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Persecute me. So, pray for them all and make sure that, I want them to be their best to contribute to the good of our overall community. And as you've said, we are in this together, and that truly is the truth. We can't deny the fact that, should the world disappear tomorrow, does that mean we stay? No, we all go. So I want to lift up the opportunity for folks to come and participate. If you got folks that you want to come over and they, can't afford it, I'm more than happy to figure out a way to support some young folks to participate in this.
This is beautiful. So my guest today, my new best friend, my new brother in the journey of the sacred journey,
Yes.
Jevon Wilkes, from the California Coalition of Youth, May 5th and 6th, Youth Summit. You can sign up, you can go register if you're having financial difficulty, but you're pulled and you need to be there because something is pulling you there. Use that phone number, use that all of that information on the website. It's easy to navigate. I was playing with it last night. Easy peasy. If you need help, do not act like you don't need help. Know that there are
Ask for it.
there. Yes, a hungry mouth never gets fed. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to get out there. 1-800-843-5200. Young people, we need you alive. We need you mentally strong. We need you to be the peace warriors. Yes, the word peace and warrior can come together. We need you to be the peace warriors of the future. Doesn't mean that we need you to beat us up for what we didn't do. I don't want to hear about what my generation didn't do anymore, because we did some things, okay? Now, let's take what we did and take what we need to do to create a better future for everybody. And that means together. Jevon Wilkes has shared his story with you. He has shared that the California Coalition for Youth is having a summit. He has shared that you matter. Okay? You matter. No matter where you are, no matter what is happening to you at the very second you hear this voice or you watch this, or somebody says, oh, did you hear about this crazy lady called Micheal Pope? Did you hear what she just said? She said, take off our cool vest. Who the heck does she think she is? I'm going to tell you who I think I am. I'm a person who was just like you. I was a person that was an angry youth, because I was angry of the oppression that was being put upon my people in the 60s and 70s. And I went dark. And so I know more than what you think I know. And what you see today is because someone saw hope in me. Someone saw a light in me. And someone took the time to say, Micheal, you're better than what you're showing. Micheal, you can do more than this. Micheal, I love you and I will walk with you. And so now you think I'm all grandiose. No, I'm not. I still have a little bit of that in me, and that will be what will guide me through my life. That's what Jevon just told you in his story. Okay? Don't be ashamed of when you fall down, because we all fall down. Even the most perfect thinking person falls down, because none of us are perfect. But I'm here to tell you, there's an organization called the California Coalition for Youth that is there to say to you, take my hand, take my shoulder, and if you can't do that, I'm going to use both of my arms to lift you up.
All right.
Jevon, Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule, because I know next week is busy for you, doing your event. May the universe of hope and happiness make that event better than ever you could possibly dream. And all of you out there, support this organization with your time, your talent, and your treasure, which is your money, because you know you be treasuring and coveting the money. We all do. So it's okay, because we can't help what the world is set up for us, but we have choices that we can make. Let's support something that we know is going to move that needle just a tiny bit, because a tiny bit is a whole lot in the life of somebody that needs. All right, Jevon, may you be the change that the world needs, and may the world shine upon you this entire day and bring you hope and peace. And to all of you, Jevon, stay on a moment. To all of you out there in my Life is a Sacred Journey neighborhood, I love you so much. I love you with beyond understanding, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because without you, I would not be. And if you suffer, I suffer. I feel your pain. And so share Life is a Sacred Journey. Come back, subscribe, hug yourself, have a great weekend, and know that you are wonderfully made by something more powerful than this world, and more powerful than anything that anyone could ever tell you. Peace out, my friends. Have a great day.